Chrono Trigger. Remember when games were this awesome? Yeah, I was about 8, so I can't remember much from back then, but 1995, it was the year that this beast hit our living rooms, and since then, people just won't shut up about it. Chrono Trigger was revolutionary in so many ways. This video is going to look at some of the facts surrounding this game. This is Hellfire RPGs, and you're watching Chrono Trigger Know the Facts. Here's something interesting. In the pre-release of Chrono Trigger, which was given exclusively to gaming magazines and retailers, there was a dungeon that was later cut from the game. It was called Singing Mountain, which could be explored in the prehistoric era after fighting Magus. It was presumably cut because it didn't advance the story. There's also an unused track of the same name that's played during this dungeon. And guess what? It's the track that you're listening to right now. We all love Dragon Ball Z, I should hope. The artwork for Chrono Trigger was done by the same guy, Akira Toriyama. The interesting thing is that many of his initial original artworks differ from the actual game. Some of these include Frog initially carrying a shield, Robo carrying a gun, and Luca a hammer. Magus is wearing a red cape, and Ayla is fighting with a club. Speaking of Ayla, this character is a reference to Jean Eyle's series of books about a woman in prehistoric times called Ayla. This one is probably known by everyone, but I have to mention it anyway. Norstein Beckler's laugh is a slightly modified version of Kafka's laugh from Final Fantasy VI. Such an iconic laugh indeed. Yeah, we've all heard Robo's theme, but just think about it. What does it sound like? Many fans claim that it sounds a lot like Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. Alright, my life goals have now been met. I've just rickrolled you all. But seriously, listen to this. Credit goes to User Boy Remix Collection 8.
We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. Our full commitment's what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. I just wanna tell you how I'm feeling.
Yeah, we all know piracy is a problem. Square tried to combat this with a creative anti-piracy measure in the DS version. When Chrono travels through time for the first time, the game would freeze and enter an infinite travel loop. However, it didn't take pirates long to develop a workaround. We have seen loads of Square remakes over the years, but unfortunately Chrono Trigger is not one of them. There's actually been one significant attempt to remake the game by loyal fans, but it was shut down by Square Enix. It was called Chrono Resurrection, which was a complete 3D remake. It looked awesome and received massive hype. This, unfortunately, was until Square issued a cease and desist order. I love you, Square, I do, but you bastards! Square really love their letters. In 2009, they also sent one to the developers of a fan sequel called Crimson Echoes just before it was due to release. This game was set to be 5 years after the events of Chrono Trigger and featured all the characters we know and love. At least you can still access the ROM for this one around the place. You've probably noticed a treasure box behind the counter at the Truce Inn, but unlike many other counters, there's actually nowhere to get there. However, if you use a cheating device, you'll receive a whopping 57,342 gold when you open it. Quite a lot changed over the course of Chrono Trigger's development, but few changes were as significant as this. Creator Masato Kato stated in a Chrono Trigger Ultimania interview that he intended for Chrono to stay dead after the Ocean Palace scenario. From here to progress the game, the party would have to recruit an early version of Chrono before the Millennial Fair, and then return him later. Of course, after being returned home, Chrono would know that he would soon die at the Ocean Palace. Square thought this was a little depressing, so they changed the plot into what we see today. It's fairly well known that Chrono can win another cat by playing games at the fair, but did you know that if you keep winning cat food, you'll eventually end up with more cats? The limit is 11, but if you ask me, one cat is more than enough. Chrono Trigger was an absolute staple of the genre, and many gamers still consider it to be the best RPG ever released. Did you know that Chrono Trigger was the first game to coin the term New Game Plus? Not only this, but it's considered as the first RPG to have true multiple endings. There's one of these in particular that is very interesting. It's the developer's ending, which is obtained after beating the final boss in the New Game Plus at the very beginning of the game. In this ending, you'll be able to speak to the key developers of the game. If only I could ask them why they gave those cease and desist letters.
やっぱりスコップよりもうまいと思うんだな。モンシー。
What is this? What the hell is this? It's actually a 16-minute promotional Chrono Trigger anime that was originally broadcast at the Japanese V-Jump Festival. I'm not even going to go into what this is about. If you're fortunate enough to have a spare 16 minutes, then go for your life. Just Google Chrono Trigger anime, or don't, which is probably the better alternative. This was Chrono Trigger Know the Facts, and I want to hear from you. What were the best facts? Did I miss anything interesting? Do you have a request for a future Know the Facts? Let me know in the comments. There's also quite a few related facts in the Chrono Cross Know the Facts, so check that out. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching.
We're no strangers to love.